Yo ho ho, welcome back, another live stream. I bet you weren't guessing that I was going to do a review or talk about this particular book. Well, yes, I'm going to talk about this book because I actually like it in many ways. And then there's something that just sort of nags at me. So the title has multiple meanings. Like many things that I say in my live streams and my videos, I often have more than one message I'm trying to communicate. I can't help the evil laugh, but we'll do the evil laugh anyway. So for those of you who are wondering if the sound is working fine, it probably sounds like it is. I think it is. The video seems to be working all right. That's good news. We're going to get into this, so grab some food, some drink, and make sure you get yourself settled down. This is going to be an interesting discussion. A book that I think nobody has really reviewed so far. So I think I might, in fact, be the first person to talk about this book. Lucky me, lucky me. How's it going, Jasper? Hi, Matt. Hi, Joe. How's it going? Let's do this. Let's make it rock. Anyway. Hi, welcome to How to D&D. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, because as you know, I always do talk about Dungeons & Dragons. This is a book review. What are we reviewing? We're reviewing adventures, specifically the Tome of Beasts 2, Lairs. Not the monster book. No. Did you get confused by the title? No, it's not the monster book. This is the adventure book that is connected to the monster book. And we're going to go into this in a lot of detail because, like all things, if you're going to do a live stream, you might as well do it right. So this is what we're going to do. Now, this is a book that I didn't realize existed till very recently, and so I purchased it thinking that I would definitely use this book. And I probably will use this book. Will I use this book right now? Probably not, because I discovered there are a few things that I need to consider. And you will have to consider those as well. So we're going to go into this, and I would say I'm going to break this down and going to give you the summary first. So I'm going to do it in reverse. Like, that's the stupidest thing to do on YouTube, is to do it in reverse. So we'll do the summary first, and then I will go through and discuss the adventures very broadly, sort of give you a summary of the adventures, because I know people like a summary of the adventures in a book. But that's the way we're doing it today. I know that sounds strange for those of you who don't understand what I'm doing here. I do this quite a lot. I don't always make an awful lot of sense with regard to how I structure it. This is how people can skip out of my videos very quickly if they get bored. Anyway, let us move on. We're going to go through each aspect of this for those of you who wanted the information. Tome of Beasts 2, Lairs. This is a book review, as I said. The Tome of Beasts 2, Lairs, has gold teeth. What does that mean? Multiple meanings, actually. So this is the pros and cons of the adventure book. This book is designed by Philip Larwood and Jeff Lee, which I believe have already done quite a lot of content for Kobold Press. So that means it's published by Wolfgang Breyer, Kobold Press. Kobold Press. There are 14 short adventures. They're easy to run adventures. You could use them in your own campaign, whether it be a home campaign or a campaign that's already pre-written, or you could use them as one-shots because they're set up that way. They are short. There's only a couple of pages, maybe 5-6 pages, and you're done. This is the sort of thing that people like. I like this sort of thing. This is my preferred format rather than huge, complex 1 to 10 or 1 to 15 character levels where I have to go and read through a huge hard-backed book to figure out what's going on. The adventure covers character levels from 1 to 15, but it's not a sequential order. So it doesn't go from level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't go like that, okay, because there's only 14 adventures. On top of that, some of the levels are skipped. So if you're thinking there was going to be an adventure for level 2, no, there's not. So there are a few things to consider when you're looking at this. This is not a sequential order. You could not just pick this up and run it as a campaign and just say, I'm going to string them all together and we're going to go from level 1 to 15. It wouldn't work that way. This is a high quality, glossy, paged paperback book. This is the sort of thing that you kind of expect in this day and age, rather than low quality pages with poor artwork, that isn't very strong, where the pages fall out because the binding's not good enough. I wonder who does that. Anyway, but this is a good book. Now, in terms of whether the spine will hold together, so far I have found that Kobold Press doesn't use the same glue or manufacturer, possibly, that Wizards of the Coast does. So you're probably going to find that the book will hold together. Yay! That's good news. This is, I guess, in terms of the kinds of adventures you get and the maps you get here. They're really excellent. The maps are excellent. They're simple, they're clear, they're colour maps for every adventure. So you get a map for every single adventure. You don't have to worry about trying to make it up yourself or assume that it's just theatre of the mind. No, there is a map. If you are the sort of person who is running a battle grid and you need a battle grid, there is one there if you need that and want to use that. But I would also say that some might be disappointed. Some dungeon masters might look at this and be disappointed by the art style, because don't expect a completely natural design look to them. They do kind of look like somebody has made them in Adobe Photoshop or some other graphics software package. So they do have that feeling at times. Not all of them feel like that, but I do get a strong feel of, yeah, okay, maybe some of these I could have made myself. I probably couldn't. I think that would be probably unrealistic in terms of my skill level. Maybe some of you could. But there are some that sort of stand out as not quite as good as I had hoped. Or did I really need a map for that location? But overall, the maps are very, very good. The majority of the monsters in the adventure are completely new. New mechanics, yes, that's right, new lore, all new. New. Why is that? Because they came out of the Tome of Beasts 2, which has new monsters in it. Now, being that the case that we get new monsters, which is always a nice thing, there is a slightly unfortunate factor here. Unfortunately for you, you will need to have the Tome of Beasts, that's the first one, and the Tome of Beasts 2, that's the new one, and you'll also need you'll need the monster manual as well. Of course, you probably already have the monster manual. You may be able to get some of the monsters that are from the monster manual off the internet for free because they are part of the open game license, or you can access them on D&D Beyond or something like that. But to actually run every single adventure in this book, you will require 3 monster books. And for me, that is unacceptable as a Dungeons & Dragons or 5e compatible adventure product. This is my big stickler. If there was anything I was going to really complain about, I'm going to whine right now. When you make a book that has adventures in it, and you require 3 books, that is going to annoy me. I am fine with the idea that I might have to have the monster manual. Okay? I'm fine with that. I am fine, since it's titled Tome of Beasts 2 Lairs, I'm fine with the fact that I might have to go and buy the Tome of Beasts 2, the monster book by Kobold Press. But the fact that there is a monster in there from the Tome of Beasts, the first one, requiring 3 monster books, okay, Wolfgang Breyer, you were probably responsible for making this decision, and you are probably never going to sponsor anything I ever do, or send me anything, because I am not impressed when you do something like this. That is not acceptable. Now, I will say one thing. There is only 1 monster from the Tome of Beasts in there. So you could probably take that monster out. Now, they haven't even formatted it. When I looked through the adventure, they haven't formatted it the same way as everything else in the book. So you could miss it and not realize that it's there. But you could swap it out for a dryad from the monster manual if you wanted to. It wouldn't be the same. The dryad is just not the same as the particular monster from the Tome of Beasts. So you could just sort of say, okay, I'm all right. There's this one adventure where I'm not going to have the monster stat block for that, and there's nothing I can do about that. So be it. I will just switch it out for something else. But I am giving you a big thumbs down for mucking up a book that should have been like a 5-star review. 5 out of 5 they should have got, and it didn't, because you did something stupid like this. There are, of course, no monster stat blocks in the adventure book. Not a single one. For anybody who's thinking there might be one, they might have transitioned that one monster from the Tome of Beasts that they put in there, requiring that book, into this book, so you didn't have to go and buy like 2 books from Kobold Press and have the monster manual as well, or maybe the SRD might not have all the monsters you need. I didn't check that. So that is a big problem. I'm finished whining about it. We will move on. We'll go and calm down a little bit and move on to the next aspect of the book, which is very, very good. One of the things I like about any adventure book is when they provide multiple adventure hooks for your adventures, and most of the adventures offer multiple hooks. Are all the hooks really good? No. Are a good chunk of them useful? Yeah. Are there adventures that only have one hook? There's a few. There's a couple. Yeah, there are some. But that's still a good aspect to any book that has multiple adventures in it, and having multiple hooks just makes it that much easier to connect it to your own world or whatever you're doing. So usefulness in that factor, it's great. And I'm happy to see that. And if they didn't have that, I would have probably not been very nice to them about reviewing it. Anyway, next. The adventure layout follows the industry standard. Now, one of the things that Wizards of the Coast struggles is following the industry standard. Now, the industry standard basically is the character level recommended is there. You get your adventure background and sort of summary I think the background and the summary have kind of been meshed together. So they're not sort of spelled out and separated, which I don't actually have a problem with. It kind of makes a lot of sense because they are very similar in their nature. They're just sort of an extension. You get the background, and then the summary is really just what happened after, or what might happen after. You can't really pin down what a summary to an adventure is because they don't always play out the way it's written anyway. Then you get your adventure hooks, followed by your location maps, and then you get your area descriptions or details. You get your read aloud text. Yes, there is read aloud text there, and you get a conclusion. Now, that's the major formatting structure that the industry kind of expects, and that we as Dungeon Master expect now from modern adventure books. That's sort of what we expect from what we get, and that's there. So in terms of layout and structure, it makes it very easy to find a lot of stuff. What I will say about some of the monster encounters very shortly, but in terms of monsters and finding them and where they are in the adventure, monster encounters, or the monsters you encounter, are in bold, just as we expect from D&D 5e products. They also, on top of that, which I think is brilliant, I love it when they do this sort of thing, they have also included which book it's from, the page number in that book, and this just makes it so much easier to find stuff. Referencing time is just reduced. Now, have they done that for every single monster? No, they haven't. They've done that for their own books. So the Tome of Beasts, yes. Tome of Beasts 2, yes, but not for the Monster Manual. The Monster Manual, they didn't do that. And I actually think that if they'd done that, I would have been really happy. I think that would have popped this over the top into beyond 5-star territory, provided they did everything else right. But that's not there, okay? But still better than most products put out by publishers, as far as I'm concerned. The treasure drops, your environmental hazards, your traps, your variations on traps, and there are a few there. The doors, trap doors, secret doors, all that sort of stuff. Creature information, and actually many other details that I had not considered might be nice to have stand out. They have formatted them. They've actually formatted them to try and make them easier to find. The only problem is they don't stand out. Why don't they stand out very well? Because they selected, it's like poor selection of colour and format and font has been the downfall of what would have been a fantastic aspect to the adventures. So they just missed shy of actually doing this properly. But have they done it better? than some of the other products I've seen by Wizards of the Coast or third-party publishers. No, I think they just missed shy. It had the potential to be even better. And all it took, frankly, I think they could have got away with just making sure the colour was a better colour and was a bit more defined, and had more contrast, and just popped out a bit more. That's all that would have been required. We could have got away with just the font staying as it was, but the colour choice was a problem. And I am disappointed again by that aspect of the book. But it is formatted. There are a wide variety of different adventures offered with varying degrees of plotline strength. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, some have really good, strong plot lines, and some have very generic, cliche plot lines, and others have not so great plot lines that may have some holes in them. I think most of the plot lines are so short, you're really not going to notice those issues, though, because the shorter the adventure, the plot line's not very complicated, right? You've only really got beginning, middle, end, and there's no cycle that you need to follow because it's such a short plot line or storyline to it, and it's very much reliant on what the players do. So not going to really necessarily be a huge problem. I would also say that the variation within the adventure book of story creativity, some of them are quite creative. Would I say they're right at the pinnacle? Probably not. I think they steer shy from being just like outrageously amazing. Things that like you look at it like, oh, I would never have thought of that. Gosh, whoever did this must be much smarter than I am. But there are times where some of the story creativities look a little sort of generic, things we've seen on TV and movies. I mean, to be fair, every story has been already told. So let's take that into consideration. But if I were to compare this with another book that has some very clever and unique stories tied to it, such as Candlekeep Mysteries, and that's got, I mean, with all the problems, and Candlekeep Mysteries has got a lot of problems with it, okay? Good product, but still a lot of problems. In terms of the story creativity behind it, it's exceptional stuff. I don't think this quite hits that bar. I think that steers kind of shy from that. It's not that same level of creativity. But then again, it's not down to the adventure as written or the dungeon master to provide that. That's what players do, okay? Playing their characters, they make that. Whether people realize that or not, I'm not going to get into an argument with people. I've always believed that it only requires a dungeon master to be open to what the players are doing, and the players will make the adventure interesting and fun if you let them do that. And if you do that, it doesn't really matter how bad the storyline is, how bad the plot is, how poorly you execute it, as long as you're open for them to do the stuff they need to do in it to make it more interesting. Anyway, moving on. Many of those combat encounters in the book are solo monsters. Not all of them, but there are a lot of solo monsters. And the standout sort of climactic battles often involve a solo monster. So don't expect your players to be challenged in combat. Now, the monsters they're facing are from the Tome of Beasts too. So these are not from the monster manual. These are much tougher creatures, but they're still a solo monster. And what we've always tended to find with any version of Dungeons & Dragons, but particularly in this case, Dungeons & Dragons 5e, is probably more problematic than anywhere else, that solo monsters don't do well. Unless you have a very, very clear understanding of what you're doing with a solo monster, and everything goes your way in terms of rolling dice, and everything doesn't go the player's way in terms of rolling dice, solo monsters often wind up being a bit of a disappointment, anticlimactic. So I think you will probably find that you may need to add in some minions or change up your solo monsters to deal with the fact that a lot of these adventures are beyond level 5 characters. You know, most of the adventures in the book are higher than level 5. So that means when we get to level 5, player characters immensely powerful. They can do pretty much anything. I've said this before. So that means that these are probably not going to stand up to an experienced group. An experienced group will probably trounced everything. Beginners probably might have a little bit more trouble. And that's probably about it. That's all I have to say there. Moving on. The monster art is magnificent. It's brightly coloured. It's got some very nice designs. And I would say that many of the monsters have emotional depictions or content in how they sort of express themselves. Things that sort of make me think, oh, yeah, that's a monster. I should be scared of that. Some of them are quite alien. Does it mean that they kind of remind me of Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, like the Monstrous Manual? Yeah, sometimes they do, but maybe another step beyond that. Like they took a monster, changed it around, combined a few different things, but did something enough to it to make it sort of feel like it still wasn't hokey and just bat crazy. Not to say that some of the monsters aren't bat crazy, because they are. And there is some very nice artwork on the monsters in this book. Frankly, I think the artwork in this book might in fact be better than the Tome of Beasts 2, just because of the type of paper they're using, the glossy finish, the colour selection. There's no bleeding, everything is crisp and clear. So yeah, they get a big thumbs up for that. I think they did a really good job with the monster art in this adventure book. Now, when it comes to art, the cover art is the weakest and probably the most disappointing aspect of the whole product in terms of artwork. Why? Because all they did was take a few adventurers, stick them in a cave, and plant it on the front of the book. That doesn't really ring out to me monster lairs. And really, this is what this book is supposed to be about. A book full of monster lairs. So I don't see a monster. I don't see anything that sort of makes me like, woo, yeah, I want that. You don't have to stick a dragon on it. We've seen dragons. Do something else. Maybe that's because a lot of the monsters aren't necessarily things that people would look at as being like a big, impressive monster. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that was the problem. But I think the selection of the cover and the cover artwork is a poor depiction. And I would imagine that when you're picking up this book, you'll look at it and think, man, is this book going to be any good? Should I even buy this? Because the reality is people judge a book by its cover quite often. Unless, of course, you go and watch a review or read something and you can look past that sort of thing. But it's a big failing for this book. These adventures, I would say, after close inspection, are suitable for beginner dungeon masters. The whole lot. I know you're thinking, whoa, wow, how often do you say that, Fred? And I said, not very often. Yes, they are very well constructed. They are very simple, very easy, because most of the adventures really don't go beyond 6 pages in most cases. You'll find yourself with not an awful lot of material to try to understand. There's a lot of formatting going on. So you look at it and you think, gosh, this is on the same sort of vein as The Lost Mine of Phandelver. Almost, I would say. Almost. I think The Lost Mine of Phandelver does things slightly different. And that still works. This does it. I mean, I'd have to say the top sections for every area description just like pop out. They're so easy to sort of understand because of the way they have labelled and formatted the heading for each location. And then your box text it just sticks out really, really well. And then what's underneath, isn't too long, so you don't have to sort of chew your way through it. So absolutely, if you're a beginner dungeon master, this is a really good product for you. And it would still be very useful for experienced or advanced dungeon masters. I think if you want to do this, and whether you're intermediate or experienced, you'll still find these adventures really good to run. Okay, let's talk about some of the adventure summaries. Oh, you thought I was going to say, should you buy the book or not? No, not yet. We're going to keep going. So let's talk about some of these adventures. There are 14 of them, so I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. We have the first one, to track a thief. This is a level 1 character. They're called upon to investigate a series of erratic city robberies and killings. I'm not going to give away too much about what's going on, but there, of course, are monsters behind all of this. Of course, so that's going to happen. Monsters in the basement, monsters in the sewer, monsters in the houses, something like that. But there are a lot of robberies taking place. There are killings. I looked at this and I felt like it feels a little bit like, let's present it as Jack the Ripper, but it's not Jack the Ripper. So yeah, there's a bit of sleight of hand taking place here. And it is for level 1 characters. Okay, number 2, the Forsaken Fort. Level 3 characters are delivering a wagon load of supplies to a fort and discover a village ravaged by a plague or disease. This is pretty common. We've seen this thing before. The idea is your characters are going to track down from the village the actual source of the plague or disease and discover that it's actually from the fort that they were going to deliver these supplies to. Now, I've mentioned the supplies only because that's one of the adventure hooks in there, and I thought that was the strongest adventure hook out of all of them, but there are actually 4 different adventure hooks, so it doesn't have to be they are delivering a wagon load of supplies. It could be something else. There's a couple of different ways of angling your players into this adventure, which I really like. Okay, the third one, the Twisted Wrath. Level 3 characters have a young druid pleading for them to cleanse a thorn maze deep in a tranquil forest. I mean, who cares about the thorn maze? And I mean, I kind of understand, let's keep the tranquil forest cleansed and nice and not have evil seep through it. That's good. I can live with that. I think this is going to really play to a druid. I don't think that a lot of players are necessarily going to care 2 hoots about this, necessarily. The Thorn Maze seems interesting, but when you look at the adventure, I feel like the story behind this is really dependent on the motivations of your players. And if you have somebody who has an affinity to nature, they're probably going to be on board with this. I think that your average player might look at this adventure and say, I don't care. Why would I give a toss about what's going on here? And for a young druid to be coming and pleading for their help, they're going to be probably wanting for they're going to want the ching ching. So you may have to put some ching ching in there just to keep them happy. And it is level 3, and that tends to be how players operate at low levels. But if you have a druid or somebody who is sort of got an affinity to nature, it's going to be much easier to get them in. Okay, the 4th adventure, Shrine of the Hungry Dead. Level 4 characters are offered a reward to solve the mystery of several people going missing after an evil spider made a shrine its home. Now, they don't know about the evil spider. They don't really know very much about the shrine. All they know is that several people have gone missing. Why are they going missing? Well, because the evil spider is having them for lunch. They are dinner, lunch, and breakfast. I like this idea. The spider itself is a very unusual spider. I don't like spiders, full stop. Even though I like Spider-Man, spiders sort of put me off, and for good reason. I won't explain that a lot. But anyway, in terms of an adventure, I think it's reasonably strong in terms of its strength. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. I would probably add in spider swarms, smaller spiders, to go with your evil spider when you actually play through this adventure. Okay, the 5th adventure, or number 5, is Tragedy of Thoradin Outpost. I think I got that right. I probably butchered the name completely, but don't know. It's all right. We'll move on. Level 4 characters have a Dwarven clan leader, or Dwarven clan leaders, seek their help in investigating why they haven't received a progress report from an abandoned mine that is currently under reconstruction or renovations. Okay, it's suddenly become the thing. Let's fix the mine, get it running again, make some money. So yes, I would imagine you will probably have players asking for ching ching, and they'll probably get paid ching ching. Okay. I don't think we need to say anything more about that adventure. Okay, number 6 is the Caverns of the Crystalline Monolith. Man, when I looked at this adventure, I thought this was very, very interesting. This is the kind of adventure where you could have a battle or a combat, but it might not happen. I'll explain. Level 5 characters pursue rumours about a magical garden of crystals inhabited by an alien being. Now, this alien being is actually something that they don't necessarily have to fight. And I like this adventure for that. There are some things they might battle along the way, but the actual final climactic battle or monster is so unusual and weird. It kind of reminds me of a Star Trek TV series. There were a lot of sort of very powerful and alien omnipotent beings that they encountered that, they didn't actually, they might have had some trouble with, but they didn't actually have to kill. They just had to have a conversation and talk like grown-ups, and everything was sorted out. And I actually like the fact that this adventure is like that. It also reminds me a lot of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So it does feel a little bit like that at times. Maybe I just like that stuff more than you guys do. And I know everything I just stated is all about science fiction, not a fantasy. So it's not a fantasy science fiction adventure. It is actually a fantasy adventure. All of these adventures are fantasy based. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons fantasy. Okay, number 7. Fight for the Horseshoe Rock Oasis. Wow, it kind of feels like a Western. It almost feels like it's an Eastern. When you start looking at the adventure, it feels kind of like a Western that's Eastern in a desert. That's really what I was thinking about when I was looking at this adventure. Level 5 characters are hired by local merchant guilds to drive away bandits or monsters, whatever is inhabiting this oasis that's along a desert trading route. So there's a specific trading route that most of the supplies are traveling along, and for some reason caravans have just been disappearing, and the suspicion is that this very important oasis that has a watering hole has been taken over by some sort of entity, whether that be bandits or monsters or creatures. It's monsters. They are probably getting waylaid at that point, so your player characters are going to go and sort that out. And yes, they're going to get paid gold. So it's easy to get them into this, particularly for the murder hobos that love to do their murder hoboing. Okay, number 8, the River Tome. This is level 6 characters are enlisted by a sole surviving explorer of an expedition to plunder the depths of an ancient tomb revealed under a river. Now, I know you're thinking, yeah, hang on, does that mean we need to have water breathing? No, actually what has happened is they've dammed up this river. And as a result of damming up the river, they have discovered that there is a tomb on the riverbed. Because, of course, you dam up the river doesn't flow anymore, and as a result, you suddenly find a structure that you didn't know about before. And a whole bunch of expeditions have already been through there, I think at least 2, and only 1 survivor has come out alive. Everybody else has perished. So your players are going to get to go and try and do this without dying. So I kind of like the idea that it was hidden underneath a river. I thought that was kind of unique. Other than that, it's still just a tomb that's supposed to be very deadly. Okay, number 9. House of the Worm God. I know what you're thinking. House of the Worm God. Are we talking about Lair of the White Worm here? No, I don't think it's quite the same as Lair of the White Worm. It's a very old movie for those of you who are unaware. Level 7 characters have 1 chance to stop an undead city cult gathering in a dilapidated manner from devouring the unsuspecting citizens. So, yes, that's right. Guess what? We had some cultists in the city. They started doing all sorts of horrible things and butchering people, and as a result of that, somehow, accidentally, the victims of their slaughter have wound up rising from the dead and then went and butchered all of the cultists. And what cultists were still alive thought this was hilarious. What a funny thing to happen. So what we'll do is we'll take all those those dead cultists, we'll make them undead, rise them from the dead, and they're going to use them to devour the entire city, because what could be better than turning an entire city into undead creatures? Yeah, I would have thought of that. It does have elements of The Walking Dead to it. It does have Night of the Living Dead sort of attached to it. There are elements to that. It is got a whimsy to it that I thought was fairly sick, but also amusing. Okay, number 10. Terror at Mountain Lotus Temple. Yes, that's right. You've got to be careful of those temples in the mountains. Level 8 characters shelter from a storm in the mountain, and they discover a haunted temple with a demonic history. So really this is about a priest, a monkey-like temple person who pursued the wrong avenue, wound up making a deal with a demon who was going to give them everlasting life, and then decided they had made a terrible mistake, as you do once you've already signed the contract, and then like, oh no, and then of course the demon decides, no, you're not pulling out. Fine print says, I get to turn you into a monster. So that's what happens. Priest gets turned into monster. Monster kills everybody in the temple, and now they're all ghosts, and it's haunted, and it's got horrible things there. And you, of course, very much in a Scooby-Doo nature, find yourself in a storm. And where should we go to stay out of the weather and the sleet and the snow and all those look, there's a temple. Oh, there it is. So there we go. So it's been done before. We know the story. It's been done so many times before. But has it been done well? Yeah, it's been done all right. Yeah. Okay, not level 11, sorry. Number 11. Tunnels below Skulltop Tor. And I was like, what is a tor? Is it right, it's like a mountain or a hill. It's a tor. It's a big thing sticking out of the ground. Okay, all right, now I know what a tor is. Level 9 characters must retrieve top secret documents that went missing from a caravan travelling past a towering hill topped with a giant skull. Oh, yes, okay, all right. So somehow that caravan and the message or documentation went missing, and apparently somebody knows that it went missing around about there. There are some weaknesses in this. You might have noticed there are a couple of small weaknesses in connecting all the dots. You kind of need to have somebody alive to escape to actually tell the story of why they think this is going on. And I think you might need to do this with a couple of these adventures, actually. I don't have a problem with this. I think that's fine. Seeking out information or secret documents rather than food, supplies, magic items, relics, people. It's good. I'll live with it. It's cool. In terms of the story, guess what? There's giants involved. Unusual giants. Not your normal standard giant. There are some different giants in here. Of course, from the Tome of Beasts too. Adventure 12. Crucible of the Golems. Level 10 characters are tasked by a historian to stop a ambitious and conniving wizard from using a magical crucible to build his own personal army of golems, because every wizard wants one. Yes, look, I would say that there are golems in this. There are some clockwork creatures in here. There is obviously a wizard. I think you could probably build this into something much bigger, given a bit of work. So if you didn't want it to just be as is, you could probably expand it. I think it has the potential. It is the sort of thing given that it's level 10, that you might be able to extend beyond level 10, particularly if the wizard escapes. If the wizard were to escape, they could be a problem later on. So I think it has a lot of potential for stories in the future. Okay, Adventure 13. We're almost there. Fire and Fury. Nice name. Level 13 characters are given the chance to stop an evil volcanic creature that demands regular sacrifices and blood from the local settlements around it. Yes, there's a volcano, and there's a creature in there that lives in the volcano. And apparently volcano creatures like sacrifices. Does that mean virgins? Princesses? Possibly. Are they happy with children? Old men? Women? I don't know. It's up to you. This is you're very much a standard Joe in the Volcano. Really? I feel like it's Joe in the Volcano. Look, a lot of movie quotes, a lot of movies I'm referring to. I know this. I know it's an old movie. I know a lot of people be confused. But it does feel like something we've seen before. Volcano needs sacrifices. Save villages. Very cliche. Still fun though. Okay, the last adventure. 14, number 14. Towers of the Three Regents. Level 15 characters are hired to find an ancient magical relic in a ruined tower that an evil Fey Queen is seeking. There are always good queens or good Fey Queens, and then there's evil Fey Queens. In this case, we get the evil Fey Queen. No, it's not the White Witch or the Red Witch or the Red Queen or anything like that, something like that. No, none of that at all. Again, it has got elements that are very cliche. Has it been done well? I think it's fine. I think it's all right. You know, I mean, a lot of these adventures do sort of target the basic structures of stories that have been done before, and we've pretty much got all of them now. I mean, pretty much everything that you might come across has been done in these 14 adventures, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm happy with that. So I guess the question is for you, is this the adventure book for you? That's the question you have. Well, let's answer that question. Eye to eye. If you own the Tome of Beasts 2 and the Monster Manual, okay, if you can get all the monsters from the Monster Manual because you already have it and you have the Tome of Beasts 2, and you also have the Tome of Beasts, the first one, if you have all 3 monster books, then this is the adventure book that you want to pick up. Seriously, it's a very good book. Even for all the things that I have slagged it for, it's still an excellent book. It really is. Compared to some of the products I've seen, it's a very, very good book. Now, if you have just the Monster Manual and the Tome of Beasts 2, and you don't mind just replacing the monster that is in there that's from the Tome of Beasts 1, you could still consider this a good product for you to pick up because it still does the job very, very well. Okay. Now, if you only have the Monster Manual and you don't have the Tome of Beasts 1 or the Tome of Beasts 2, this is not the book for you. I think you will find you would have to replace too many monsters. It would feel too different, and it's just not the right purchase. Does that mean that you should never get it? Well, for me, I would say you're probably better off to go and buy the Tome of Beasts 2 and just use the 400 plus monsters in there and not worry about this adventure book, unless you really like that book once you buy it. And I will absolutely put links in the description to those books. But I have to say, this should have got 5 stars. And it doesn't get 5 stars because of its reliance on too many monster books to run the monsters in there. And really, the only monsters we should have had to have access to should have been already freely available on the SRD, okay, or the online Dungeon Master Guide. There is an online Dungeon Master Guide on the official Wizards of the Coast website where you can download that, and it has a whole bunch of monsters. It should have either just required that and the Tome of Beasts 2, and that's it. And it doesn't do that. So I'm not happy. So I'm going to give this 4 stars out of 5. I don't really give books ratings. Does that really mean anything? I don't think it really means anything. I mean, stars don't really mean anything. It really means if you have most of these books, then it's a good product. If you don't, it's probably not the product for you. Now, I hope this was useful to you in some way. Like all of my videos, I try to be as honest as I can about the products that I'm talking about. Now, if you want to see more reviews on different products, I have a whole bunch of them on my channel. And I do these live, and will I release edited versions in the future? I don't know. We will find out in the future, because right now it hasn't happened. But I do have some edited reviews as well. I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters. You are welcome to go and check out if you want to, so feel free to do that. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing video content like this, you can through Patreon, through the Amazon affiliate links down in the description, through the merchandise shelf underneath all of my videos, or just keep watching my videos. That works too. Make sure to do all the usual YouTube things. You know, I'm going to say it. You know it. You've heard it before. Please share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live. And I go live a lot, in fact, every week. And when I publish edited videos, and that happens as well. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Well, let's go and do some chat. Let's. Oh, my eyes are really weak today. Let's have a talk. I was so shocked that nobody had really reviewed this product. Oh my God! Oh, for a second there, I saw Kobold Press as popped up in my chat. Oh, that freaked me out. Oh, that would have been scary. I believe that Wally DM was suggesting that I approach Kobold Press to get them to join us in the D&D round table, or Dungeon Master round table. I don't think that's likely to happen now after this. I don't really usually have a review that says that a Kobold Press product is not very good. And this is a very good product, but it has a fatal weakness. It's like the Death Star, you know? Photons down the pipe, and poof, it all blows up. And that's exactly what this adventure book is like, unfortunately. Okay, so questions and answers. So I need to be quick because I'm supposed to be with AJ Pickett, Wally DM, and Dawn from Roll for Initiative in about an hour, or just over an hour from now. Okay, let's put this in. That's that. Type that, press the button, make sure I pin it. Did I put it in? Oh, did I just type something and it didn't work? No, it's in there. Okay, it goes to the top. All right, so starting at the top of the, I will try to get through everybody if I can. But if you have a specific question about the adventure book, that's fine. It doesn't have to be about the adventure book. I will answer any questions as long as it's not related to things I don't understand. Okay, Jasper's here. I've said hi to Jasper. I've said hi to Overboard DM, who has a YouTube channel, and you should definitely check it out if you're into miniatures, terrain, and reviews. He does a lot of the stuff. Dwarven Forge terrain in particular. There's a lot of stuff there. Matt is here. Hello. Deep diving. Yes, we deep diving. We went under the water, came out somewhere else. Fred Daniel, how's it going? Yeah, dude. Jasper, don't hang around for me. Go out for dinner with your family. You can always come back some other time. Hello, Todd. How are you doing? Yes, okay, I do rant. It does happen. It is certainly a product of years and years of trauma. Fleet Centurion, what do you got here? I didn't buy either. Anyway, piracy rules. Piracy. We're not going there. We're not going there. What do you got here, Matt? Kobold Press should have just put the stat blocks in the back of the adventure. Yeah, I think that probably would have been smarter. But this book was designed to try and sell the Tome of Beasts too. Now, which is fine because they did that with the Book of Lairs that they put out, where you had to require their adventure book. But I think if you're going to put monsters in there, just put the monsters from that book in there and that's it. I mean, the reality is, Wizards of the Coast, when they put out their adventures, you have to have the monster manual and the adventure book. and any additional monsters are in the back of the book. Okay, but with a third-party product, you need to make sure you're not requiring too many additional books to be able to use your product. Slice of Scott, how's it going? If you're going to require multiple books, I would at least be nice to offer an alternate monster. Should you not have the book? Exactly. I think that's probably fair enough. Slice of Scott, absolutely agree. Yeah, Joe, this is one time where I will not be convincing very many people, I suspect, to buy this book. And it should be a book that you want to pick up, but it's got a fatal flaw. Phoenix Rapunzel, how's it going? That's what I was thinking as well. I want to check out the other books that Kobold Press has, especially since Fred has recommended some of them before. Okay, so what do I have here? I actually have the Creature Codex, but I have the Creature Codex Lairs book. Now, if enough people were to say, Fred, can you talk about the Creature Codex Lairs book? That would definitely probably pop up eventually, because I have the book. And I would be willing to discuss that book, like anything that I currently have. Now, I know some people are probably wondering, Fred, do you have the Tome of Beasts too? I have the first one, I don't have the second one. Why did I hold off on buying the second one? Because it's so pricey. It is so expensive for me to buy it in my country. If I lived in another country, I'd be better off. Well, if I lived in North America or the UK, and that's probably about it. If I lived anywhere else in the world, maybe if I was in Canada, it wouldn't be so bad. But anywhere else, you're screwed. So I haven't bought it. And I would like to buy it, but I'm not going to buy it at the price that I'm currently asking, which is $75 New Zealand. That's with free shipping. Free shipping, $75. Now, it's a big book, I understand. I understand it's a big book. But I didn't pay that much for the first one. There's no way I'm paying that much for the second one. So, there's no review on that particular book until the price drops. If it ever does. Anyway, good news is that I know that AJ Pickett will have done a review on it because I know he's got it. Phoenix Rapunzel, what do I got here? Wish I could stay and listen to all of this all the way through. Oh, no, it's a problem. You got to go. You got your Curse of Strahd session. Go run that thing. Have a good time. Bye-bye. I'll see you later. You're welcome. I'm glad the advice was useful. Jacob Hatfield. Jacob, it's been a while. Jacob Hatfield, you go back so far. You go back to my days with Dungeons and Dragons Adventurers League. I don't think a lot of people realise. I almost forgot who you were because we had discussed a lot of stuff before I ever started this YouTube channel. And I didn't realise. And then I looked at the name and I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure I know Jacob Hatfield. I think I've had conversations with him via email or that's happened before. So anyway, I have the first Tome of Beasts in PDF form. Yep. Still considering the second book and the Lair book. Yep. But I like what I am hearing for the most part. Oh, that's good. Glad to hear it. Cool. Fendar. Hello, Fendar. Fendar is a patron, and thank you, Fendar. Give him the itching, the ching. Give him the ching. There's a lot of ching going on, isn't there? Alien Adventure. All right, an Alien Adventure. Look, you don't want to buy it just for one adventure. One adventure in a book of 14 is probably not going to be enough. Salt zombies have taken over the ye-old watering hole in the oasis. No, it's not zombies as far as I understand. It's something else. It is something else. Adventures have to be hurried before the oasis disappears. Do you think that the monsters are going to drink up the watering hole and there'll be nothing left for anybody else? God. Nice one. Very funny. Oops. I don't want to lose my place. If I lose my place, I'll never get back, will I? And I need to be fairly quick. If I lose my voice, I'll be in trouble because I'm supposed to be talking very shortly. Projects Way at War. How's it going? I've used all of the adventures up to the Crystal Monolith. Okay, somebody has used these and actually run them. Homebrew story and world through. Yes. Okay, so I want you to tell people what you think of this book. Okay? It's all very well me saying it, but if somebody's run the adventures, I haven't run them. I've just read through them. Okay? Slice of Scott, Joe versus the Volcano, Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan. Well done. You get all points. Yeah, all 3 points for knowing the name of the movie and two of the actors. In fact, I believe Meg Ryan should probably have had top billing since she showed up so much. Didn't she play like 1, 2, 3 different characters? As you say. Jacob, I can think of a lot of ways to drop these into my homebrew games as well. Very intrigued. Okay, well, I'm glad you are intrigued. Just make sure you have the Tome of Beasts too as well. Otherwise, it might be a bit of a drag. What do you got here, Matt? What, no evil cult trying to rocket a building to Mars? No. You need Amy Vorpal to do that. What do you got here, Jacob? Kind of makes me want to go watch Joe versus the Volcano. Never seen it. It's actually a very, very silly, crazy, touching movie that makes an awful lot of nonsensical sense. Do you know? It is very. If you're in a job that you hate, Joe versus the Volcano will fill a spot like, gosh, life might be easier. I wish I was Joe. And he has a miserable time. Okay. Negative Space, how's it going? Yeah. You're on early. I thought, hello. Now, yeah, look, I know I've been early, but I have to go early. I kind of have to sort of make sure my time is available. But trying to marry up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different time zones in the UK and in the United States. I can't even consider doing the Europe. It's too hard. It will not work. And trying to make sure I can line myself up with Wally DM, because I mean we're the two hosts basically. We run the show essentially, and AJ Pickett is there to fill in the spot when hopefully when Wally can't. But the reality is, and then line it up with New Zealand time. That's a lot of time zones. That's 6 time zones to contend with. So there's a very narrow space to work with, because most people are hobby YouTubers, not full-time or part-time that we're interacting with. And most of the full-timers are not really interested. Most of the part-timers are not that interested either. Part-time hobbyers, man, they're on. Okay, Fred Daniel, what do you got here? Appreciate the honest and warning. Yep. Excellent review. Good, I'm glad you liked it. Look, I think there is a lot to be said for non-Wizards of the Coast product reviews. The problem is that people don't really buy those books that much. And people tend to buy the Wizards of the Coast products because they are Wizards of the Coast. They get a lot of promotion. They are the IP owners, so it makes sense. It really does. Mr. Tarask, who does a lot of reviews, should be far more popular than he is. And he's not, which is a shame. Do you know another YouTuber that I really like, and that is Captain Courageous, who does old school D&D reviews. Magnificent stuff. Makes me look like an amateur. And I watch his stuff a lot, and it's really, really nice. And he only really talks about older adventures. And it is a shame that a lot of things don't get the time they need, and the publicity and the interest. All right. Yeah, Joe is a unique film. It's not a typical Hanks or Ryan romance. You're right. It absolutely is not typical in any way. Well, yeah, okay. I will say yes. Yeah, I would say you're right that Joe versus the Volcano does have a D&D element to it. Hi, Brian. How's it going? You missed the review. Look, it's all right. Brian, I know this time frame is a little bit tricky for people. You're still probably coming back from work. You're probably in the car driving back somewhere or going to bed, depending on what part of the world you are in. But the good news is you're here now, and we've had a chance to at least communicate and an opportunity to connect, which is why I keep doing live streams. It's because of you guys. All right, negative space. What do you got here? What do you got here? I've been buying a lot of stuff off eBay or using the section of Amazon lately. Okay, the used section of Amazon lately. Okay. Well, it's good that you haven't got any bad quality products. And look, I mean, I think a lot of things are made at a pretty high level nowadays anyway. Okay, question from Fred Daniel. Does Kobold sell PDFs of their monster books at a reasonable price? If so, would they work with the Book of Lairs too? Okay, so here's the thing. Kobold Press has a system where you buy the physical book, and then when you buy the physical book, you can also get the PDF. I don't know that I would say that the PDF is at a reasonable price. Because I've looked at this as a possibility for myself. But I'll punch it up. I have been there not that long ago, but I suppose I should at least check and confirm that I am right about what I'm saying, rather than just talking through my ass. Okay, Tome of Beasts to Lairs. Oh. Okay, there's the book. Now available on Fantasy Grounds. That's very nice. And how is it purchased? Book of Lairs, Book of Lairs, Book of Lairs. Mate, you guys have got too many pop-ups on here. Gonna say it. You got too many pop-ups. The pricing for it. I don't see the pricing for it. Why don't I see the pricing for it? Okay, here we go. Priced at $19.99. But what do you get? It doesn't really spell it out. It doesn't really make it clear. Or is this this is the Fantasy Grounds option. No, this is not what I wanted. I don't want Fantasy Grounds. I don't want to buy it off Fantasy. No. Give us the, where's the actual website? Kobold Press. Drive through. They have a website and I can't see it. Why can't I see it? There it is. Now I found it. Sorry about that, everybody. I was having some trouble. I think their website looks almost identical to Fantasy Grounds. Tome of Beasts to Lairs. Come on. Come on. No. No. No, it's not doing... So the purchase of this book looks a bit wangly, if you ask me. Okay, so the Tome of Beasts 2, in terms of how it's purchased... Yeah, okay. All right. It's going to be... I mean, I think they have connected themselves with Fantasy Grounds. I'm not a huge fan of that, frankly. This is a little bit of a pain, if you ask me. So I don't know if I can answer that question in an adequate way. I'm sorry that I can't, Fred. You'd have to do a little bit of research yourself, because it looks to me like they've got some sort of strange symbiotic relationship with Fantasy Grounds, and so how you purchase their product is a bit odd, if you ask me. I bought mine from the Book Depository, because it's free shipping to anywhere in the world, and it doesn't make sense for me to buy from Amazon because I don't get free shipping. If I was in the United States, I would go with Amazon, because free shipping if you spend $35 or more, I believe it is. But because I don't live there, I don't get that benefit. So I use the book depository. And I think I also bought it at discount. I got it at a discounted rate. Jacob, question. Do the monsters fit their lairs pretty well, in your opinion? I would say that they fit them all right. Which is to say, they don't feel shoehorned into something that, well, that doesn't feel natural. I understand what you're saying. So do the monsters fit the location? Generally, yes. But can I just say that Kobold Press makes very unusual monsters. And it would be extremely hard to find something that kind of fits them, because the monsters are so unusual that to find a natural lair or location for them would be hard. So I would say the answer is, yeah, generally they do. I don't know how else I would necessarily use them. Because I don't have the Tome of Beasts 2, I don't have all the lore behind those monsters. So I can only work by the artwork and what the adventure talks about. So I can't really answer that as accurately as I would like. But I would say generally yes. Yeah. Okay. Side note, I still keep up your videos. Great content. Just don't catch the live streams very often. Totally understand that. Who can make it to a live stream all the time? It's not going to work, is it? Yes, Captain Courageous is a legend, and he's impossible to contact. Very smart individual he is. He's made sure that you can't get hold of him. He just does his thing, and that's that. So there is really no social media going on there. There's just the YouTube channel and what he sells off Drive-Through RPG, I think it is. I think it's Drive-Through RPG that he uses. I think I did suggest to him using an Amazon affiliate marketing program as well. I don't know if he does that often though, because I don't really sell what he reviews, so that's a little bit more difficult. What's that, Jacob? From what I am seeing, the Tome of Beasts 2 as PDF only is available for $24.99 American. Cool, blimey. So that's almost that's about 30. That's almost $40 for me. $40, kind of pricey, yeah. Yeah, and I haven't reviewed that particular book. I know that AJ Pickett has reviewed that book. I mean, AJ's an expert in monsters, and so he would probably have a lot of good things to say. But I mean, AJ and me do disagree. There are times when we do talk about stuff and we do disagree. We're not necessarily on the same page, which is fine. I can accept it. He can accept it. We can live with it. There might be a bit of head shaking from time to time. But anyway, I think we've covered everything we needed to with this particular book review. What is next week? For those of you who are wondering, what are we going to get next week? What is the live stream? It is going to be The Curse of Strahd, the megalith. You know those standing stones that are by the old stone grinder? I'm going to suggest a whole bunch of different things you can do with it. Okay, so my suggestion is, if you are planning to use a magic circle or some standing stones that is not in the Curse of Strahd or is in the Curse of Strahd, this might be a very handy video for you, because I'm going to give you some very outrageous ideas. Everything I can think of, including one that may in fact be related to what Jeremy Crawford and Chris Perkins intended with those standing stones over by the old bone grinder. So for those of you who are wondering what was that going to be like, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. And then after that, we're going to do Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, because I know people want me to talk about it. So that's all good. Not a problem. I am sure that I will do my very best to give you the pros and cons in every way there is. Okay, what's that, Fred? Sorry for causing some frustration with my question. Nah, it's right. It's not frustration. It's more that I couldn't answer the question. And I wish I could, but I just, physically, if I haven't seen something like the Tome of Beasts 2, I can't really answer that specific question. And I'm not a fan of PDFs. I'm not really a fan of PDFs. It's not something, I prefer the physical book myself, because too often I've lost PDFs because the computer crashes or a virus gets in there or Microsoft decides to change the system and everything gets ballsed up. How often does that happen? Quite a lot, actually, every few years when they want to put out the new version. So yeah, I try to have physical copies, and I know people kind of like to see the physical copies. Oh, maybe that's something I should do. Maybe I should flip through these books and then do a speak over and talk about the books in the future. Maybe that would be a good idea to do. Maybe. Okay, I better get going. I'm supposed to be getting organised, and I need to make sure that I am ready for Dawn's questions, because she's got some curly ones today. So thank you to my patrons and for everybody who showed up for the live stream. Thank you for everybody who watched through a rather long live stream or video. You've done very well. I'm impressed. So wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, the night, the very early hours of the morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. And hey, try to be nice to your neighbours. Be nice to your neighbours. And till next time, keep rolling those 20s.